Starscream here, and I am the Lord and Master of the Geekcast Radio Network. Don't tell Megatron.
Hello and welcome to episode 96 of the Cinema Geeks. I am one of your Cinema Geeks, Optimus Solo, and joining me for episode 96 is Hard Candy Mandy. Hello.
Hello.
Movie Revolt Dan. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Not too bad. And Fridley Set. How's it going, sir?
Pretty good. I got my gloves on. I'm going to take you all on.
And what he's referring to is today in episode 96, we're going to do something we've never done before, and we'll say that this is somewhat of a precursor to things that will be coming up soon, and we are going to enter the confessional and expose our top 10 films on our list of shame, aka our blind spots, movies that we're ashamed that we haven't seen yet, biggest regrets, biggest misses, or whatever you want to call it, but we're all going to be letting it out of the bag here and letting people know what we haven't seen, and then I'm sure we'll have a plethora of comments on the website as to questioning how we could have not seen these different shows or different movies, and I'm sure there'll be some reactions on the actual podcast as well. I have no idea which direction this is going to go or what films are going to be on any of your lists, but it should definitely be interesting to see what we all haven't seen. And like I said, it'll be a precursor to something that's coming up in relation to episode 100, which is right around the corner. Dan, let's start with you. As we kind of decided to do this as a project and let this all out there, what was your thought process, and how did you go about narrowing down the list to only 10?
The way I kind of looked at it, I looked at it as a list of shame in the sense of, movies that you would think even the general public have probably seen, or ones that are specifically ones that I would find enjoyable that I have no excuse not to watch. Like, there are, if I go to the Sight and Sound poll, which is like the best movies of all time, there's tons of movies on there that I have not seen, but I think the majority of people in the world have not seen those either, that have not gone to film school or are not professional critics. But so I went more so with movies that, for people that know me or know that I'm into movies, would be really shocked that someone would not see those. So these are, I think, more general based. So you're not going to. There might be some that are more classical in some ways, but so it's because it's a type of genre or type of film that I really wanted to see, but for some reason I failed at doing so. Just because I'm lazy, I guess.
Yeah, I a lot of similar thought process. I was first off looking at just like the ones that would just be like those eye catchers. Just the general public would be confused as to why I hadn't seen that. I also thought a little bit about like our podcasting community and movies that a lot of people rave about that maybe I haven't seen. I did try to keep it varied though. I could have easily made a top 10 list and it could have just been like the most famous or classic horror films of all time, because I haven't seen any of them. So, I could have done that, but I tried to make it a little bit more of a variety by picking a whole bunch of different things. I also am going to admit right up front and be open about it that I am going to cheat the heck out of this. I'm not ashamed that I'm going to be the biggest cheater on the planet when it comes to this list. I might as well be hitting 700-foot home runs, and my head might as well be like 3 times the size it was when we started the podcast originally, because the only difference between me and Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa right now is that I'm openly admitting that I'm going to be cheating. So from the beginning to the end, I will find ways to cheat. So just wanted to get that out there. Matt, how did you go about narrowing your list down to 10?
I tried to do what you guys said. Like, I didn't go with anything too crazy or out there. Every movie I'm going to list, everyone out there should have heard of. But I did try to, anytime anyone had ever suggested, like, I'm surprised you haven't seen that, or, like, you really need to see that, I tried to get that down. And I think I covered all of those. I even asked the guy who yells at me daily, and got 1 or 2 more from him before finishing my list.
I just, imagine that you walking up to him. What movies have you usually yelled at me the most about? Oh, okay, we're going to go with those. That's funny.
That's how most of our conversations go.
Can you replay every film you've ever yelled at me, at least in the last year or two, for not seeing? Amanda, what about you? How did you go about narrowing down your list?
I think I focused on stuff that I know was either pop culture or like a household name, something that is super recognizable, but also some things that are a little personal, like, damn, I love this actor or whatever, and this is kind of one of those more popular movies or a movie I just was kind of sad that I hadn't seen yet. So a little bit of a mix of both.
Yeah, it's definitely a hard project. I jotted down just general films that I hadn't seen at first, and I think I probably had like hundreds of them on this sheet of paper, so it took a lot to kind of get it down. I mean, there's some obvious ones that you know you're going to pick, but I looked at, like Dan said, some of those polls, Sight and Sound, AFI, to see which ones were on there that I was considering maybe bump it up a little bit, checked out some Rotten Tomatoes scores and stuff like that, but regardless of which way you do it, I think it's going to be interesting which ones we finalize in on, and let's just get right into the list then. Amanda, why don't you start? Ladies first. What is your 10th film on your list of shame? I
thought that we didn't have these numbered. I thought they were just supposed to be in any...
That's fine. You can just pick some random one.
In order of, like, importance or anything by any means.
You know me. I'm going to rank and list everything, so...
Shush mouth. I'm going to go with one that probably is the biggest stab, and that's the Godfather movies. I have never seen... There's at all. I mean, I know about it. I know the premise. I know the famous quotes, but that's about it. I've never actually sat down and watched those films. Kevin, stop it.
Sorry, this is going to be interesting for me because apparently there's some stuff on here that I don't know that she hasn't seen yet. So I blame myself, I guess, for that one.
I think for a lot of people, the running time does scare people off for The Godfather because it is quite long. So.
I just actually, I don't know what cable channel is doing it, but there's like the Godfather, like the Epic series or Epic Edition.
HBO was doing that. They were like, they had like the extremely 4-hour-long version of The Godfather or something like that.
I think it might be even longer than that. I don't know. I recorded it on our DVR, and it's sitting there, but it's like the chronological version of all of the Godfathers put together, or at least the first two, maybe.
Oh, really?
And
wow.
Yeah, so it's like if you were to watch it in chronological order, I guess. It's like a re-edit of it. So I have it recorded, but like you said, I don't know when I'm going to have... The runtime is so ridiculous that I don't know. I'm going to have to watch it in...
like
segments, and then it's going to defeat the purpose of what they're trying to do, probably. So maybe that's how we'll expose Amanda, the chronological order. But I think Dan's got that one on the head a little bit. I think a lot of people are a little bit afraid of the runtime and the investment. You know, it's not just one film; it's going to be a series of them. So if you're going to start, you're going to got to be ready to go through the whole thing at least. So, all right, Godfather. Any reactions that I didn't let you get out, Dan, Matt?
I'll save my reaction.
All right. Matt, why don't you go next then? What is your first film on your list of shame that you'd like to share with us?
All right. I had it lower, but I'm going to jump it up just to be topical, and I'm cheating just like Kevin taught me. But I had a category of like ultra-famous gang mafia movies, of which includes Godfather 1 and 2, which I haven't seen. I didn't write down Godfather 3 because I've heard things. I wrote down Goodfellas, Casino, The Departed. I have not seen any of these.
Really?
I also have not seen Casino.
What is going on?
Oh, no, dude. You're going to be saying that almost every other time I say something. Like,
all right, so a mob movie marathon is coming in the future. Man, I have ran into a lot more people that have not seen Godfather than people that haven't seen Goodfellas.
Yeah, I enjoy Goodfellas more than The Godfather. I mean, I think Godfather arguably one of the best movies of all time, but Goodfellas is in like one of my favorites. So, yeah, I would say if you're gonna watch one, maybe start with that one because I think it's a little bit more modern. So it might be a little bit more enjoyable.
Well, and Goodfellas is a good start. If you like Goodfellas, there's more to watch. If you don't like Goodfellas, then you're not gonna probably care too much about those other ones that you mentioned, Casino or Godfather. At least I don't think, guys.
So for Matt, basically, it's all of Martin Scorsese.
I've only seen one.
All right, we're off to a good start. Some definitely big names there. I'll go next, I guess. For my number 10, my number 9 and 10 were really hard to come up with. My first 8 were obvious. My 9 and 10, I had like 5 or 6 films that were kind of circulating back and forth. But for my number 10, I guess it could be somewhat of a theme, or at least represent a blind spot for me, and that blind spot would be Stanley Kubrick in general, and I have not seen A Clockwork Orange or The Shining, so I guess that's I've only seen one Stanley Kubrick film, and so I have a big blind spot for the rest of his filmography, but I think the ones that kind of get the most praise are The Shining and A Clockwork Orange, so I haven't seen either one of those.
See, my favorite Kubrick film was actually The Killing, so it's one of his earliest ones, I would say. It's more of a crime movie, but yeah, I'm not too surprised because I know how much you dislike 2001, so I can see why that would turn you away from other films from Kubrick.
But I mean, obviously they have a lot of notoriety, and I'm not. I know he has an interesting style. I don't necessarily know if 2001's the reason I haven't watched any other ones, or it's just that I've never had somebody like trying to get me to watch them either. Like nobody I've hung out with, roommates or Amanda, aren't trying to like sit me down and watch me and show me a Kubrick film. So it's just I don't know. It's just something that's never come up too. So it's kind of weird.
I've seen The Shining a ton, and I was super disturbed by Clockwork Orange, so I'm not like
trying to go back there.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, Stanley Kubrick is big blind spot list for me. Dan, what do you got first up?
So my number 10 was hard to choose from, too. I was going to go through a bunch of them. This one is more so a personal choice because it's based upon a director that I really like in Darren Aronofsky. Like, love The Wrestler, love a lot what he has done in the past, but one of his best films and notable films I have not seen, and that's Requiem for a Dream. It's a movie here a lot of people talk about, especially when Aronofsky came out with his last film, but it's been on my blind spot forever. Just have not got around to watching it. I don't know why, but one day.
That's actually on my blind spot too. It's not on my list, but it was one that I was considering. It's actually one that I also just recorded on whatever HBO or Starz or something, so that I have it right there ready to watch, but I have not pulled the trigger yet. But that's been a film that has been on my radar since, like, even almost before I was into movies. Like I've heard about this film since it came out. I've always wanted to like watch it, and for some reason, yeah, it's just something I've never actually got around to. So I'm in full agreement with you on that one being a blind spot. Amanda, have you seen Requiem for a Dream?
Yeah, it was a struggle for me to get through. It's a lot of like drug trips and crazy stuff that happens. So the way it's filmed is it can be jarring and hard to watch if you get motion sick at all. Like, it's kind of a very unique film, I'll say that, and there's a lot of stuff going on to think about and try to wrap your mind around.
Do you think we should watch it?
Oh, man, it's been a while since I've seen it, so I guess it wouldn't be too much of a shot to me, but I think you definitely need to watch it at some point.
All right.
You too, Dan. I mean, it's a trip. Definitely don't want the kid in the room for that one.
I always, like, for some reason, put this and Magnolia like together as another movie I've not seen. So I don't know why I always put them because, again, two notable directors around the same time. So I hope to watch it. Yeah, I think it's at my local library, so you got to buckle down and watch it. I do not have it on my DVR. Like.
I think it's also one that you have to be in the right mood to tackle. You're not just going to be like, oh, I'll just throw this on.
I think I actually got a headache from it. So
who's ready for a fun Friday night?
Amanda, back to you then. What's next on your unordered list of shame?
I feel like I might be the only one that's never seen this. And a little film called Rudy. Never. I've never seen it. I feel like everybody else has seen it. I'm like, it's the guy from The Lord of the Rings, right? It's like Samwise Gamgee. That's all I know this guy from.
What do you got to say, little film? Why do you got to be?
Ooh.
Oh. See, if I would have seen that, then I would have known that I shouldn't have seen that.
Rudy gets a lot of love from a lot of people. I've only seen it once, and I wasn't overwhelmed by it. Like, I guess it's a fun little sports film, but Dan, what do you think about Rudy?
Yeah, it's fine. It's it's cheesy in a good way, and like this typical sports movie way. You have the classic scene at the. I don't want to ruin it, I guess, because she's not seen it, but when he pushes Frodo into the. No, that's not right. But it's fine. Yeah, I wouldn't. It's more, I guess, just notable because of its pulp culture impact than I think it is a great sports film. Like, I wouldn't put it in the top echelon of sports movies, but for some reason, it's just people know about it. Yeah.
So I don't feel too bad about you not seeing that one. I mean, I understand it is definitely a popular title that a lot of people have seen, so I can kind of see that, but I'm not going to force you to watch that one.
Okay.
I feel so much better because I was sitting here going, man, everyone's gonna list these things, and they're not even gonna be things that I got near to because I just haven't seen any movies apparently, and this is one that I've seen, and so I've got that going for me. And one thing I would like to point out that maybe makes that movie better or look differently. I was talking to a guy who plays for the NIU Huskies. And he and I were talking about, I think it was it Eddie the Eagle or something that came out recently? And he was like, you might not have noticed, but there aren't sports films starring white guys anymore. He's like, it's always either a lady or a person of color. And he's, and that's a great thing, and Hollywood needs to be more diverse. But he's like, as a college level athlete, it's kind of weird to not be able to associate myself with any sports movies. And I thought that was an interesting take, and I know Rudy was towards the end of that.
Yeah, I can see that.
So you're saying there's no more white people in sports movies?
Well, there are no more white people in sports, just in general.
It is becoming a dwindling subject to have a white man be the lead in your sports movie.
I mean, if it's not Kevin Costner in a baseball film, you're out of luck.
What about White Man Can't Jump? Just saying.
Yeah, that's not 20 years old.
Sports movies, I'm a huge sports fan, but sports movies to me are so bad usually. There's maybe three or four that I like, but the rest are just all cheese to me. Matt, what do you got next on your list?
I teased it, I believe, in the last record, but what was originally my number one is Fight Club. I've heard from a million different sources that I need to see it. I've had the ending spoiled for me, at least in some part, because you can't avoid that in this current day and age. But I'm sure it's still interesting. But it's one that I have not watched that I've heard is great.
I actually couldn't have avoided this one even if I wanted to, because I actually had a college course that this was part of the curriculum, so we had to watch it and write about it and talk about it, etc. So there is definitely a lot there. It's got more layers than most movies as far as being able to dissect it and discuss it. So that's a film that even people that have seen it once probably don't fully understand or grasp all the different stuff that's going on, and as well as people that have seen it like 5 or 6 times. So I'd be interested to see what your take is on that one, though, actually, Matt. I'm not sure where you would fall on the Fight Club bandwagon.
Me either.
Amanda, you've seen Fight Club and also had do you see it in college as well?
On my own. I never had to do anything with
Okay, I couldn't remember if it was one of the ones that you had to or not. But yeah, I think that's definitely a list of shame type movie. There's especially more so I think for our generation.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
What's interesting about that too is like when it came out, it was not all that well received. It kind of gained notoriety as it went on. So it's
yeah. But like people that were in either high school or college in relatively the same time as the 4 of us were. I know that spans a little bit of time, but it just seemed to be like one of those films that everybody, it's like most of the Tarantino films. It's like that's what people were watching that age in those groups and stuff like that. So.
I have another one of those on my list that I'll get to. So.
All right, so I think I'm up next then. For my number 9, I'm going to kind of use this film to also highlight another gaping hole in my film viewing experience, and I will put Psycho down there. And honestly, I just recently saw Vertigo, and I believe that's the only Alfred Hitchcock film I've ever seen. I was looking through his filmography, and I don't know if I came up with another film. I have not seen Rear Window, I've not seen Birds, I've not seen Rope. I mean, there's a billion more I could list, but I'm going to list Psycho as the entrant here to kind of represent that entire gaping hole for me.
So you mean, his Psycho, not the Gus Van Sant Psycho with Vince Vaughn, right? That's not the one that you're ashamed you have not seen.
Correct. The black and white original Psycho. That, I mean, I don't know if that's the number one film I would list out of all those other ones I listed that I have not seen from his filmography. I don't know if Psycho's the best.
It's probably it's up there when it comes to popularity for sure. I mean, I think you said you saw Vertigo. That was probably his most well reviewed. Rear Window is up there too. North by Northwest.
Yeah, it's kind of going back and forth on whether to list Rear Window or Psycho, and just kind of went with Psycho in the end. It has a 96 on Rotten Tomatoes, so I thought that was pretty high score. So I should probably see it at some point. Now, Dan, you've seen most of Hitchcock's films, correct?
I've seen a good amount. There's still a lot I have not seen. I've seen North by Northwest. I've seen Vertigo, Psycho, Rope, but I have not seen like Anatomy of a Murder, Rebecca, a few others I still need to catch up.
You've seen Dial M for Murder?
I've seen Dial M for Murder.
Okay.
That's like early Hitchcock. That's when it was like glorified stage play, and it was actually, and that one's good. It's not. I wouldn't put it up there with his best. It's kind of a little bit more schlocky. I would say the acting is really big, large acting, and it's well directed because it's Alfred Hitchcock. But
right. It's just interesting to me too, because growing up, my family, my parents especially, watched a lot of Alfred Hitchcock on TV, like the Alfred Hitchcock Presents and stuff like that. So I'm interested in all these, and I want to see them, but I just for some reason have never sat down to kind of go through. Maybe I just didn't know where to start. So I'm gonna have to start knocking a few more of those off of my list, because Amanda's seen a few of them too, but I know there's some that she hasn't seen that we could see for the first time. So Alfred Hitchcock, as well as Stanley Kubrick, blind spots for me. Dan, what do you have next?
So I guess we're in horror, so I'll stay with that with my next one, and I'm going to cheat because that's just what this is all about, is cheating. Going to be shameful, go all the way with it. And I'm cheating because I'm lumping in the Halloween franchise and the Friday the 13th franchise. This is extra shameful because of the ones I have seen. I've seen the Halloween remake by Rob Zombie in the theater. I have yet to see the first Halloween or any one other than that. I have not seen like the first Friday the 13th, the second one, but I did see Jason Goes to Space in the theater again.
Oh my
God! It was
God!
a choice I made.
Dan wins.
So yeah. That happened, and I would say it's almost worth it for Jason Goes to Space for one specific scene involving a sleeping bag, which was ultimately hilarious.
Yes, that went on for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
There's some kind of joke about that. I liked Jason Goes to Space.
I think it's Jason 10. I don't know the actual, but Jason Goes to Space is what they should.
Dan, was it your idea to go to the theater for that, or were you going with a group or a friend?
I was going with a group of people, and I was like, all right, I'll go. The Halloween was because my wife likes horror and films, like she likes like scary films. So we went to see that. She didn't like it because she actually doesn't like slasher films, and it was also a really bad movie. But yet to see the original Halloween. So I've been waiting for it because I wanted to do like John Carpenter marathon where I start with all of his movies, but I just haven't. I watched Dark Star, but then and a few others, but I haven't got to that yet.
I don't know if I've seen the original Halloween or not. I honestly couldn't tell you unless I sat down and watched it and something rang a bell. I'm pretty sure, though, I have seen the original Friday the 13th, which is weird that I would have seen that and you haven't. I had a lot of friends growing up that liked horror films, so I got exposed to a few of them early on, and I think that's why I haven't watched any since. But that is crazy that you've seen the ones that you have and not the original.
Yeah, and I have seen the remake of Friday the 13th, the Platinum Dunes one, and that was awful. So
maybe it's because you've seen these other films that were so bad.
Exactly. I don't know what I'm. I feel like most of the Friday the 13th are not viewed as great movies. I'm not sure, but I know Halloween, the first one, is viewed as a classic. I have not seen it. So.
Yeah. All right, Amanda, we're talking a bunch of horror films. Is that where you want to go next, or you got something else up your sleeve for your 8th pick?
I don't have a single horror film on here.
You've seen them all.
The closest thing I have to that is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I have never seen that, ever. And I know that's probably some big, huge pop culture thing. I think people are still obsessed with this movie today, but I've never seen a piece of this.
I don't think you're alone, though, on that.
I have not either. Yeah.
I haven't seen it in its entirety. I've seen big chunks of it, but I have not seen it from beginning to end. I think it's something that, a lot of people have seen, and a lot of people reference it and talk about it, etc. But I think there's a great deal of people that have no idea what it's about or have never seen it. So I think you'd have some company there. Matt, have you seen it?
I have, and I'm surprised at all of you.
This is the second time that you've seen something that somebody else has listed.
Well, second time Amanda.
Well, if you want to go there,
I want to make it very specific who.
But are you a fan of Rocky Horror Picture Show?
It's good. It's fun. It's not what I would go for, but I wouldn't be opposed to watching it if everyone was like, "Hey, let's watch Rocky Horror." But if I remember correctly, aren't they remaking it in the next year?
There you go. I mean, your chance
idea.
to catch up on both versions.
It scares me though. It freaks me out.
It's not anything.
It's a dude in some fishnets. Like,
that scares you?
Scary.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Dudes and fishnets, apparently.
Don't worry, there's a moment where Meatloaf comes in on like a motorcycle and drives inside of a mansion in circles singing. It's pretty great.
That makes it worth it just for that. I'm going to have to watch it now. Oh, man. All right, so Rocky Horror Picture Show for Amanda. Matt, what do you have next?
So I feel like I'm not cheating enough listening to everyone, but I can't remake this entire list on the fly. My number 2 is one that we have. Like, I can almost reach out and touch it because my shelves are just right there. That I'm pretty sure most people think I should have seen. I'm a nerd who loved 80s sci-fi, but I have not seen Tron.
I have not seen Tron either.
The original
Tron. Or the sequel. We have both of them because I think you can get them both for under $10 at the disc replay.
I have not seen anything in relation to Tron, whether it be movies, cartoons, or anything. I have no idea what Tron even is outside. It's a science fiction thing.
I actually had fun with the new one. I've never seen the original, but what I've seen clips of, I don't think I could sit through the entire thing.
I have seen the original one. It does not hold up very well at all. I don't think it's interesting for what they were able to do, like, in the sense of it was the first movie to use, like, computer graphics in the way they did, but I don't think it's a very good movie, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the sequel. And I know they were going to make a third one, what they aren't now, and I think that's a good choice because we don't need 3 bad Tron movies, and, so I think it's notable because of its impact within geek culture, and you have a lot of people that are huge Tron fans. I personally just never thought it was a great film.
Yeah, there's a lot of rabid Tron fans, and there was even I think there was a cartoon that came out like only less than 2 or 3 years ago too on Tron that is no longer airing either. So it seems like there is a lot of push from the fandom for Tron stuff, but as soon as something comes out, it gets shut down or doesn't come to fruition. So I don't know. Yeah, I just can't get interested enough to even want to watch it. So it's probably going to remain a blind spot for me.
It's like watching an old person's like personal home movie. If you watch it today, it's like
So it's like it should be on like Crappy Movie Night or something.
I wouldn't say it's crappy. Might be too far, but it does kind of look like a classic Doctor Who episode or something like that.
I love classic Doctor Who.
So you'll love it. I mean,
there you go.
I have almost every DVD from the classics.
So it just in the sense of the special effects do look like TV quality level. So
cool.
Gotcha. All right, for my next pick, I'm going to go to kind of a classic comedy that everybody always raves about. But I think this is a product of maybe I was too young, that I missed the boat on this one, and I just haven't gone back to see what the fuss was all about. Even though anybody that has seen this in recent times that was kind of listing it on their list of shame, and then they watched it and reported back, usually doesn't report back too positively, but maybe they're jaded. I don't know. But my next pick would be Caddyshack. I have not seen Caddyshack. A lot of my older relatives have seen it, and they talk about it and reference it all the time, and I have no idea what they're talking about other than I know they're talking about Caddyshack. But it's just one that, there's a couple like this. I haven't seen, Blazing Saddles and a couple Animal House, but I think Caddyshack's probably the biggest one that I guess I'm too young for.
I've seen Caddyshack.
Okay, that excuse is no longer valid that I just tried to use, so I don't know what my excuse is. I just haven't seen Caddyshack. I'm sorry. So, should I see it?
I like Caddyshack. I don't put it... Again, it's been probably a decade since I've seen it last, but I don't put it in the top echelon. Like, I don't put it like in the level of like an Airplane or a Naked Gun, but I do think there's some good things about it. And but don't ever watch Caddyshack 2, because that is like one of the worst movies ever.
All right, note to self: stop after.
It has like none of the same people except for Dan Aykroyd playing the part of Bill Murray, and then Chevy Chase because he does not know how to say no to a role.
All right, so I will check out Caddyshack eventually, but I will avoid the sequel. Dan, what do you got next?
I also have a comedy a little bit more recent than that of Caddyshack. And it's an SNL comedy, and similar to that of Friday the 13th and Halloween, it's partially shameful because the movies I have not seen. So I've seen The Ladies' Man, Knights of the Roxbury, some other of the worst SNL films, but I have not seen Wayne's World. That is on my list of shame. I've seen like all the famous scenes. I feel like I have seen it, but not sat down and watched the movie from beginning to end.
That hurts me a little bit because at one point I did look like Garth from Wayne's World. And I love to play hockey, especially in the street. I wear the glasses that Garth wears. Any time that I can say party on, I'm going to. So you should really see this. It's definitely a pop culture go-to.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Do you like this better or worse than Bill and Ted's, Amanda?
That's one of the hardest questions I will ever answer in my entire life. And I've never been able to answer it, I don't think.
You've seen Bill and Ted's, right, Dan?
Yeah, I've seen both Bill and Ted. I loves. I enjoy, there are some great things about those movies, especially Bogus Journey with them playing death. Some amazing sequences in that. But yeah, I've not seen Wayne's World. I've seen a lot of the scenes. I've seen like bits and pieces on TV, but not enough to feel like I've seen it from beginning to end. So
I've seen it, but I almost feel exactly like you do because I think I've seen it once when it came out. And I remember hardly anything about it, so I need to probably revisit it because I could honestly not tell you outside of what Amanda just said and some, some of the quotes and some of the scenes that have been played on ad nauseum. I couldn't tell you anything about Wayne's World. So
you mean I do look like Garth?
I did not agree to that. No.
You kind of do.
All right, so that brings it back to you, Amanda, for your next pick. What do you have at number 7?
Oh man, I think that I'm going to go with one that I have let slip before, but I think it was on In Session Confessions. I've never seen The Passion of the Christ. Have I talked about that on the podcast yet?
I don't remember.
Yeah, that's one that I feel like everybody saw, and it was kind of a staple, but I avoided it. I still have not seen any of it.
You almost have to get a pass for that because it's like what we were talking about before. You have to be in the exact right mindset and mood to just be like, let's throw Passion of the Christ in there.
But when would you ever feel that way? Like, when is it ever a good time to be like, now's the time?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know when that time would, or how you, get to that point.
Is it like fucking Passover and you're like, all right, I just gotta push this. I mean, it's like a certain time around Easter when you have to watch the 10 Commandments. Does anybody really like watching that fucking movie? But we still watch it.
I don't. But
I think you're okay not watching The Passion of the Christ. It's just watch the South Park episode on it and you'll enjoy it a lot more enjoyable.
If you're a fan of seeing just brutality to a point where it's almost unbearable to watch, then go for it.
I'm good.
All right, so Passion of the Christ for Amanda. Matt, what do you have next?
All right, so I don't know directors like you guys do, so I've got 2 Stanley Kubrick films on here without knowing,
okay.
And one you already touched on negatively, I believe, which is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
You haven't seen that, Matt?
No.
Please. And I can't believe I'm recommending you to watch this, but please watch it because I would love to hear your take on it.
I would love.
You will like it more than I did.
I would love to not shut up about it because that's how I am with things. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in seeing it. Again, like most of these, I know enough to quote it, even if I haven't seen it, and reference it. But it's a classic science fiction movie that I have not even touched, and I feel shameful for it.
I mean, it does have a lot of praise. It's, you know, a lot of times looked at as the best science fiction film of all time, or things of that nature. So I think it definitely qualifies for a list of shame film.
Matt, the way you said that, you're like, I'm shameful for it. It made me sound like I was in like an AA meeting or something. Like we were.
Well, that's probably what this is, right?
Yes. But I would be very intrigued for you to watch this, Matt, so I could listen to your take on it. Maybe you can convince me why I should like it.
Probably not, but I mean, I'm definitely going to give it a try.
For my next one, it's maybe not as well known, I guess, to just like the general public, maybe, but I think as far as like especially all the other film podcast or bloggers or reviewers or etc. would get this one and probably say it should be on my list of shame, and I definitely look forward to to checking it off and seeing it. But for my next one, I'm going to go for the whole trilogy, the whole Before trilogy, Dan, because I have not seen Before. Sunrise, Sunset, Midnight, I think those are the 3 titles. I have not seen any of them, and I have never heard a single bad word about any of these films. I've also heard 2 or 3 different people claim that it is the best trilogy of all time. So I should probably see it, but I don't know. I didn't even really know that these films existed before, like, maybe 2 years ago or so. So I just missed it.
I will say, like, for the Before films, they're certainly not for everyone, because it's legitimately the 2, especially the first 2 movies are, 2 people walking and talking, and that's the extent of it in a lot of ways. So for a lot of people, I think would be bored and hate it. But if you like, I love Richard Linklater and like what I think there's more there than just that. But so I think there are people who love them, but then I think you'd have some people who would like get within the first 15 minutes of the first one and be done with it. And so if you don't like the first 20 minutes, I would say you're probably not going to like the whole trilogy. Though I think it gets better. The first one is super 90s. It's like oozing in 90s-ness, and because it's just of that time so much. I think the most recent one, Before Midnight, is the best of all of them. But they do, I think they get better with each installment.
Do you think ultimately I would like the trilogy?
I don't know, because I know you like Bowhead, but you didn't love it, so it's hard to say. I don't think you would like it as much as most people. I don't think I would see you putting it up there as one of the best trilogies of all time. Could be wrong.
Okay.
I think you would enjoy it, but I don't think you would love it. So.
I look forward to seeing it so I can report back and let you know. But, Before trilogy is my number 7. Dan, what do you have next?
I think we talked about, I forget what it was, but Fight Club was being one of those movies that everyone in college loved and was one of their favorite films. This was another one of those that I felt like everyone's favorite film was Donnie Darko, and it's one that I have not seen. I just remember so many people talking about how much they loved it, and I guess, I don't know, for whatever reason, I just never got around to it. It just never interested me all that much, but considering how much it's talked about, how many people just adore it, I know a lot of people hate it too, kind of like 2001. There's people who like think it's the best thing ever, and some people who can't stand it. I just would like. I'm just shameful in the fact that I've not watched it, so I can't say anything about it.
Amanda, have you seen Donnie Darko?
I have, yes, a couple times. Super freaking disturbing, and it took me a couple watches to try to figure out what's going on, and I don't know if I really still understand what's going on, or if I know yet. I think I'm going to have to watch it another time. It's confusing to me. I don't know. Has anybody else seen this?
I have seen it, but I cannot remember anything about it.
You don't even remember how creepy it was?
No.
What?
There's like 4 or 5 films that came out kind of in that same time period that I seem to not be able to distinguish between, and I need to watch them all so I can like keep them straight in my head.
I don't understand that, because this movie is so unique and like so identifiable that I can't see how it would blend in with it.
Maybe I just think I've seen it.
No,
probably just think
I'm gonna back Kevin up on that, because I saw it, and I saw it in the last 6 or 7 years, and I can't even remember most of it.
Because it's so confusing, it's hard to wrap your mind around it, but I can, like, visualize things and things that happened.
Yeah, like, I remember there was, like, a dude in a bunny suit, and then, like, a jet.
It wasn't just a bunny suit. Like, this fucking thing was disturbing beyond any words. It's so creepy.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, maybe I haven't seen it, but I swear I have, and it's just one of those, like, there was a bunch of films that kind of came out within the same three years that I just...
If I were to pin it to any movie, it would be Requiem of a Dream.
Okay.
So I have a theme going, and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, you do.
All right, so we're going to have a whole little spotlight on those films and see how you feel on those, Dan. Amanda, back to you now for your number 6 unordered pick.
All right, so I love me some Gary Oldman. Love
Yes.
that motherfucker to death. And I wish we were best friends, but we're not, so I'm just going to keep watching his movies. And it turns out there's a bunch of his movies I haven't seen, and one being Sid and Nancy, one of his older films. I've never seen that. They mention it in a little song called Butterfly. Anybody remember that song? Nobody? Anyways. I feel like...
Come, my baby, come.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we were going there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
I got it.
Oh, man. Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but...
Matt did it better.
He did. I think that it's one that definitely flew under my radar for a long time, and even hearing the title, I didn't know that Gary Oldman was in it until I looked it up recently and found out that it was him, and now I'm like, now I got to watch this.
Who knew we'd get a butterfly reference as we list our top 10 films?
Crazy Town. I had the whole CD back in the day. Just saying.
Dan, have you seen Sid or Nancy? Do you think it's she should be shameful of this?
If she should be, so should I, because I've not seen it either.
I've not seen it either. Just due to your love for Gary Oldman, though, I can see your justification for having this on there.
Yes, that was a purely personal choice. But I think that it's also some kind of piece of pop culture, too. Not just because it was in a Crazy Town song. I think that people will recognize that.
All right. Matt, does your next pick have any song references that you can throw out there?
I'm sure it does. In fact, my next one is a whole franchise where I have not seen any one of them, and it's known almost as much for its music as anything else, and that's Rocky.
Wow. The whole franchise?
I have not seen. I've seen about half of the first one, and it was on in a room, and I was not paying attention to it. And that's my. And then I think the second or third one was playing in a pizza joint when I was waiting for a pizza for about a half an hour. Like, that's my Rocky experience.
I'm going to go ahead and shift my list around because it was my number one. I've not seen any Rocky movie ever, except for Creed, if that counts last year. But I've not seen any of the Rocky films, so I'm right there with you, Matt.
Confession time.
I don't know how. I just have never... I was not a Sylvester Stallone fan at all growing up. I did not seek out his films at all. So I generally avoided it because I just thought he was a terrible actor and I couldn't stand much about him as a younger self that didn't know anything. But
I grew up on Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone.
I watched all of Schwarzenegger's films almost, but for some reason I avoided Stallone, and I don't know if it was him or if it was I didn't like boxing when I grew up or what.
When you grew up or now, and when you're an adult because you've grown up now, you don't like boxing?
Both. But yeah, I've never seen a Rocky movie either, Matt, so do not feel that you're alone in this shameful act, I guess.
Oh, man, if that's your number one, you need to get on my level, bro.
Well, no, it's not anymore. Now it's my number 6, so I got a bunch more to follow. So, but yeah, the only reason I put it on there is because it's like it'd be different if we were just saying we haven't seen like Rocky 4 or we haven't seen the first Rocky. But the fact that I hadn't seen any of them, I thought elevated it up a few spots. So, Dan, are you shocked that we have 2 people on here that have not seen a single Rocky film?
A little bit, because I feel like those are the type of movies you trip over and you watch them by accident, like you mentioned in the background or something like that. What's interesting is like going back and watching the first one. When you do, it's the first Rocky is it's not even really a sports movie. Really, there's no boxing till the end of it. It's more of a romance than anything.
Okay.
But then they get ridiculous as more as they go on. 4 gets kind of crazy. 5, it's probably best enjoyed if it's in the background. You're not paying attention to it. It's awful. Rocky Balboa, I think, is pretty better, and then Creed is an improvement. But the first one, I think, is legitimately a good movie. It was won Best Picture, wrongfully so. It was not the best movie that year, but
now we're going to get people out in arms against us.
It does show that Stallone is more talented than his movies sometimes will let like Over the Top or Stop Where My Mom Would Shoot. But
the Rocky fans are going to be enraged at us. Amanda, are we going to be watching Rocky soon, or?
I can get down with some Rocky. Definitely, It makes me want to go to the gym and like run in a gray sweatsuit in Philadelphia or wherever they're at. But
Yeah, Philadelphia.
All right, so since I skipped ahead there and went right after Matt, Dan, you would be up next for your whatever we're on number
6. My number 6 is almost a stand-in because I like westerns. I have a lot of favorites like Once Upon a Time in the West, Butch Cassidy, The Sundance Kid, but there are a lot of great westerns I've not seen, and probably the most notable is John Wayne's The Search. Well, not John Wayne's, but John Ford's The Searchers, starring John Wayne. The Searchers is probably noted as one of the best westerns ever created. I've just never seen it. I've had desire to. There's a lot of other westerns I haven't seen, like Rio Bravo, The Wild Bunch, Josie, or the Outlaw Josie Wales or whatever. So there's a bunch of westerns I've yet to see, but probably the most notable is The Searchers. So I have it next on my list.
Yeah, I haven't. I think I've seen that once with my mom, but it was so long ago that I can't remember. But westerns, for me, too, are a weird blind spot for me because I love westerns. Like, 9 times out of 10, I will love a western film, even if it's bad. And there's so many of them, though, that it's just like I didn't know where to go as far as which one to list on my list, so I don't have any. But there's a ton that I would like to catch up on from those, I guess, the days when westerns were at the forefront and kind of in their heyday when it seemed like, I mean, John Wayne's in 175 movies or something like that
per year. So. Like he was in like an 8,000 movie. The guy just was legitimately just walked from one set to the next. Like, what character am I? John Wayne. That's what I'm doing. I'm just gonna go with that.
I got it. I don't need to rehearse for this. So yeah, I'm with you. I could probably list a bunch of westerns that I haven't seen. So, Amanda. You're up.
Well,
Confess.
you learned this about me pretty recently, and that's the fact that I have never seen The Goonies.
Which is just mind-boggling for me.
I didn't grow up in the 80s.
Yeah, I guess that could be it. But like Dan said with the other one that we were talking about with the Rocky films, like it's hard to not just like accidentally watch The Goonies.
I mean, you can sneeze, turn on TNT, and Rocky's going to be on. Not so much The Goonies.
Maybe not on TNT, but...
Well, TNT's drama, not...
Is that...
I don't know, the Disney Channel or something, or Nickelodeon, I don't know. I don't know what channel Goonies would play on, but we own this, so we can fix this very quickly. Goonies is just a fun film. But I understand your thought process. It's a generational thing. I'm sure a lot of people that were not born in or around the 80s maybe have also not seen the Goonies, but my niece and nephew have seen the Goonies.
Probably because of you.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to come to your defense. I've also not seen the Goonies, and it slipped my mind so much I was going to include it on my list and forgot to.
I'm going to create a new list, and this is list of movies that Amanda and Matt are going to watch together at my house. So
that sounds oddly like a threat.
I'm okay with it.
All right, so no Goonie love for the panel here. Dan, is that list of shameworthy, the Goonies?
I think
or
so.
Is it a generational thing?
It's like I see that people were wearing shirts of the Goonies still, and people quote it. And,
I have 2 of them.
Yeah, there you go. Hey you guys, and it's. I think at one point I remember reading a story last year that the Goonies one of the Goonies house in Seattle in Washington, they had to closed because so many people would come to it trying to do the truffle shuffle. Yeah. So they had it. So yeah, it's notable in that end. So I think it's certainly shameworthy.
I've heard that, but I have no fucking clue what that means.
You will.
It's a fat person thing because everyone told me to do it growing up. So it's got to be a fat person thing.
Oh, wow.
All right, so we will experience that together. Where am I at? Matt, what's up on your list next?
This is number 2 Stanley Kubrick, if I did IMDb right, which is A Clockwork Orange is another movie I have not seen.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I haven't seen it either.
I've heard a lot of things. I've been told I need to watch it, much in the same way that I need to watch Fight Club. And then the same guy told me when I asked him, like, hey, what do I need to see? He was like, have you seen Clockwork Orange? Because that's definitely on the list.
Is this the work buddy that yells at you?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a Marine, if that makes anything more obvious. So he's all kinds of okay with head trip and messed up life and also yelling.
Does he tell you about this in like a drill sergeant voice?
Sometimes.
Does he flip over a mattress and run around in his tighty whities, freaking out because he can't adjust? Like, what is that, Apocalypse Now?
I was like, where are we going with this?
Apocalypse Now. Staring at the ceiling fan.
That'd be weird if he did that at work and had access to a mattress.
Well, actually, that's not that crazy, because I see probably 4 or 5 mattresses come through a day.
Oh, okay. Well, recreate that scene, would you?
Yeah, next time a Lisa or a Casper comes through, I'll be able to open that up and go for it.
All right. For my next list of shame entries, now that I'm flipping my order all around, I will go with a group of films as well. I will continue the cheating trend. And I will admit that I have not seen a single James Bond film prior to Pierce Brosnan.
Wow.
So I've seen all the Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig films, but I have not seen a single James Bond film with Sean Connery, Roger Moore, or the rest of them.
Neither have I. I've only seen Pierce Brosnan forward.
Now, Dan, you recently, well, maybe not so recently, but within the last couple of years, you did a Bond spotlight for the Geekcast Radio Network where you did most of, if not all of, the Bond films. Is this something that's worth the investment to go back and watch all of those other films?
There's a lot of hit and misses, to be honest with you. There's some good ones, some bad ones. Like I don't think Dr. No, the first one does not hold up all that well. I think there are, like, From Russia with Love, You Only Live Twice. I think On Her Majesty's Secret Service is quite good.
Octopussy.
Yeah, I enjoy that. There's some really bad ones though, like Diamonds Are Forever is god awful. I don't like some of the later Roger Moore, like they get A View to a Kill. So I think it's interesting. I enjoy just going through it because I actually, before that, there was a lot of them I didn't see either, but I bought the Blu-ray set and watched them in order. And I think that is the best way to enjoy them because you kind of see the evolution of this character. And yeah, there are some bad ones there, but sometimes some bad James Bond movies can be enjoyable in the wrong reasons, like Moonraker. Like that is like arguably like one of the worst ones, and it's just crazily bad. So I think it's worth the investment, but realize you're going to see a lot of bad movies while you do it. So.
Yeah, and you answered my other question I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you if there was a need to watch them in a specific order or not. So you think chronological is the best way to go?
I think so. I think it's the best way to enjoy them. Because there's some linking between them, not much. Like there's a little bit of between On Her Majesty's Secret Service and The Spy Who Loved... No, what's one? Deliver, Let Die. Not very much, though. They don't tie together a great... No. Sorry, I'm mixing up the order, but yeah. There's so many of them, they all kind of tie together. That's the only bad thing is you watch a lot of them in like short spans and they kind of all bleed into one another.
All right, well that means you're up next for your next confession, Dan.
My next confession. So my next one would be, if you adjusted for inflation, the most popular movie ever created, and it's Gone with the Wind. I have never seen it. I don't know. I just never had the desire, but I feel it's like one of the most notable movies ever created. It just never really appealed to me. I never wanted to sit down and watch it, but I do feel like one day I'm going to have to, give it and try to find 4 hours of my life and watch.
That's another one that the timestamp can turn some people off. It's number 6, I believe, the last time AFI did their top 100 films of all time. And I'll just go ahead, Dan. That's my next one. So that was next on my list as well. So I'll go out of turn because I am with you. I've never seen Gone with the Wind, and I've never been able to convince myself to invest that much time on it because I just can't see myself liking it. But maybe I'm wrong.
I think you would. There's a lot of drama, and it's very classic. The look, the acting. I think that there's some really awesome quotes and scenes, and this romance, and then the development and the deterioration, and everything between these two super iconic and well-known characters. I saw this movie pretty young, and so there's quite a bit of it that I probably don't remember, and I would definitely be willing to go along the 4-hour journey with you to watch it again, just to see it with an adult brain.
Is that what we have?
Shut the fuck up.
I've got a friend, a couple actually, that lives out in Seattle, and they come to town because they grew up here and their parents are here. And every year they watch Gone with the Wind for Christmas, and I've been a part of that for maybe 3 or 4 of the last 5 times. And I can echo everything Amanda said. It's a pretty great movie. And then the great thing is that they have watched documentaries and stuff. Like more time spending watching documentaries than the movie is long, and so they could just keep throwing in like pop-up video facts. And it's like, for how old it is, it's incredibly impressive, the things they did and things they had to do to get that movie, and it's good.
I mean, there's like a war, there's romance, there's drama, there's so many epic shots that I don't know, I love it. And all the costuming and the looks that are shared, the embraces.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's well done.
Dan, did you think that we would have a movie that would show up sometime during the record that you and I have not seen, that Amanda and Matt are schooling us on?
I don't know how to respond and not like. Yeah, I'm surprised. I don't want to say I feel extra painful because I feel that's insulting, but I definitely feel like I need to step up my game, Majorton.
Yeah. But positive marks from both of you guys, so maybe I should get off my little...
Maybe you should shut your mouth.
Yeah, maybe I should shut my mouth and watch Gone with the Wind. If I ever injure myself and I have to be somewhere for 4.5 hours...
Oh, if you're in the cast, it's on.
All right, so we'll just have to wait for that to happen. Amanda, back to you. And I will just stop listing numbers because my list is so out of order, so you're up next.
Okay, so... another one that I think might just hurt you, Kevin, that you're already aware of, and that's Casablanca. I've never ever seen Casablanca.
Also,
I don't even know what the fuck
out
it's
on the
about.
DVD shelf. We actually were playing a movie trivia game last week, and this came up, and everybody that was playing had no clue what it was, and I needed no time at all to answer this one. We need to watch this because I think you would like it more than you think you will.
I hope so.
But it's also very classic. A lot of lines, a lot of quotable things, a lot of great
Don't try
classic
to
performances.
just take the words out of my mouth.
I'm trying to school you like you just schooled me.
No, it's not going to work now.
I think Casablanca definitely is qualified as a list of shame film, though. I think that fits perfectly with what we're doing. Matt, have you seen Casablanca?
I have not seen Casablanca, and I have not seen Stalag 17, which I've always heard those two lumped together.
So neither of you have seen Casablanca, huh? I'm just kidding.
Putting this on the list, are we?
I'm just trying to feel better about myself. Matt, what else have you not seen that you'd like to confess to the world?
I believe in 2001 this was voted or listed by a number of places as the greatest movie of the 20th century. I don't know, I can't speak to it because I haven't seen it, and that is Citizen Kane.
Yeah. We're getting some classics now here. Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, and Citizen Kane.
I saw that for the first time 4 or 5 years ago. I think it's important too with that because when you get a movie that's notable for the greatest of all time, that reading up and seeing what exactly why that was, I think it's important because I think I hear a lot of people say it's overrated, but I think when you go back and see what how it changed the game for that of movies, it makes a lot more sense. But I think it's obviously quite good, and I ended up enjoying it much more than I kind of thought I would going in.
I think I probably saw it around the same time you did, Dan, because it's been probably about 4 or 5 years since I saw it for the first time. Matt, I actually think you would like this. And I don't know what I'm basing that off of, but I think especially what Dan was saying, if you kind of research the history a little bit and kind of the impact that it had before going into it and then watched it, I think you would find it somewhat fascinating.
Yeah, I'd love to see it along with most of these.
This is one of my honorable mentions. I thought about bringing it up to you, but I just didn't. I've heard it mentioned so many times, but I just don't know a damn thing about it.
All right. Well, Citizen Kane, another classic. Let's see how many more of those we have as we go through here. I already did my picks, so Dan, I think you're up next.
So next on my list, so considering we're a geek website, I've seen a lot of superhero films, comic book films. There are a couple I have not seen, though this is not necessarily based upon a comic. I just hear how it really represents comics in a great way, but I've never sat down and watched it, and that's Unbreakable. The M. Night Shyamalan film with...
Shyamalan.
Yes, with not Sean Connery, Samuel L. Jackson and Bruce Willis. I've started it a few times. I own it. I've just never finished it. But I've just heard a lot of great things about it, and I've just never sat down and finished it. So I gotta do that one day. And also Ghost World. I've heard that's actually currently in my queue right now on Amazon. I've not seen that either, and I've heard great things about that as well with Steve Buscemi and a few other people. So those are both lists of shames for me.
I remember when Unbreakable came out.
2001, I think. It was early 2000s.
I thought I remembered when it came out that the immediate praise wasn't there, but maybe I'm misremembering things because I thought I heard a lot of people ripping on that originally, and then it seemed like that all went away, and since then a lot of people have heaped praises on that film. I need to rewatch it. I've seen it once, and I remember thinking it was all right, but not thinking it was great. But I definitely need to rewatch it because it's been probably at least 10 years or more since I saw it.
I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix because I think you were working late one night and I decided to rewatch this because it's just a commitment though too. I think it's kind of long, and I fell asleep. And I'm a little sad about that because I wanted to revisit that Sam Jackson actually doing a villain right. So it'll be interesting to go back and watch this and connect it after we've seen all these other comic book movies too.
Matt, have you?
Sorry, it came out in 2000. Yeah, it only has like a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it also came after Sixth Sense. So I think a lot of people got buried and wasn't as well respected as that, so I don't know if that's part of it, but it has gained notoriety since then for sure.
Matt, have you seen Unbreakable?
I have seen it, and I would say that it's probably my top 3 favorite films of all time. That said, I haven't seen it since 2005. But yeah, it's one of the ones that I like. It really did it for me. It hit me at the right age, and I loved it.
Nice. So we'll have to rewatch that sometime soon. All right, that means it's back to Amanda, and I believe we're on number 3.
Number 3. I like a lot of action. I like some kung fu. I like some butt kickery. Little blind spot, though, is the man himself, Bruce Lee. I have not seen The Way of the Dragon.
All right. That surprises me for your taste that you have not seen. That's like the Godfather of martial arts films. I think.
I don't know. I don't know why.
Has anybody on the panel seen that?
Yeah, I have. So have you seen Enter the Dragon?
No. Is that maybe I just have it down wrong. Enter the Dragon?
Yeah, Enter the Dragon is the most, it was his first really big American hit. I have seen it. It's good. It's probably, I would say, his best film, probably most notable for its, the ending with all the mirrors and whatnot. And if you're a Bruce Lee fan and you like his other films, I think you would enjoy it for sure.
Definitely something iconic that I missed out on for no good reason.
Yeah. You love martial arts films.
Some of the dubbing's really bad, but if you can get over that, it's what do you...
That's kung fu movies in general. Yeah.
All right, Matt, what is your number 3?
This might have belonged with the Godfather movies, I don't know, but I think it's different because it's from the opposite point of view, I think. But I have not seen Taxi Driver. I
wouldn't necessarily lump that in with those other ones.
It's Pacino, right? And that's I guess where it's this,
De Niro.
Or De Niro. What? Because there's that much difference between the two. If you haven't seen any Scorsese films, they're the same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. It's just I've heard a lot of good things, especially recently. Some other podcasts I listen to have been talking this one up a lot lately, so it was in the forefront of my mind. and maybe doesn't belong on my list as much as some other things, but
I think it's a good one to have on the list. I think a lot of people talk very positive. I mean, that's one of those ones where I don't necessarily hear a ton of people talking about it all the time, but when I do hear people talk about it, it's almost universally positive. So I think it belongs there. Dan, what do you think about Taxi Driver?
Yeah, it's certainly. I love Taxi Driver. It's in some place within my top favorite films. I don't know where, 25-ish, 30-ish, but it's great. It came out the same year as Rocky, so you can kind of like have a 1976 marathon if you would like. It was like notable because it's, I think, the movie that really set Scorsese on to like another pedestal as a respected director. But yeah, I think it's phenomenal. Probably De Niro's best performance overall. Quite good, and it holds up really well, I think. I would say if you have the opportunity to watch it on Blu-ray because it looks gorgeous. So gorgeous in like the most rundown way possible, because it's like, you know, when New York City was like decaying from the inside, but still, it's gorgeous.
For my next pick, like Dan, like you were saying with your Unbreakable pick, you know, we are a geek podcast on the Geekcast Radio Network, so I feel like this one fits even better when we're talking about that audience. And also, it was highlighted for me when we went through and did another list for the whole network, one of our top 100s for animated films. So I'm going to throw an animated film in there that I have not seen that always gets rave reviews and it ranked very highly amongst our top 100. And I have never seen in its entirety, I've never seen The Iron Giant. So I will go ahead and admit that. Missed it when it came out, and just haven't had the push to go see it yet. But I know it's universally praised, so I need to knock this one. I finally knocked WALL-E and Up off my list this last year, so I need to add Iron Giant to the list.
It's Vin Diesel's best performance. So.
Yeah, I think I circled that in our little pamphlet out there for our Disney Club, so we can just buy it.
So yeah, I will hopefully 2016 will be the year that I finally catch up with the Iron Giant. Dan, what is your number 3?
No, my number. I feel like this is the one I'm probably going to get the most slack on, or the most in the comment section. But another classic comedy starring Steve Martin and John Candy, and I've never seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's. I've, again, bits and pieces of it, but I've never sat down and watched the whole thing. I don't know why.
I'm worried, though. I'm worried because I can't remember who it was. I think it was maybe one of the guys on True Bromance or whatever had this as a list of shame film, and then they watched it as like a piece of homework or something, and then they just came back and shit on it. And I really hope that's not what happens when you finally watch this. This is one of my favorite comedies of that era. I have probably seen this more times than I should. Like, I've probably seen this like 8 or 9 times, which is a lot for me because I don't usually rewatch a lot of movies. So I'd be very interested to see if you think this holds up or not, or if it was just something that I like because I saw it when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wanting to see it forever. It's on TV a great deal, though I don't have TV anymore. But I think it's on Netflix, so I really have no excuse. But I need to just sit down and watch it. And I like Steve Martin, I like John Candy, so I feel like the comedy would still work for me, because I know there's like movies like Groundhog Day, which people see that don't stand up, but I still love. So,
Yeah, I'm just a huge John Candy fan. I like most of just about anything he ever did, but this is one of my favorite roles of his. So I would definitely say check that out soon, so we can talk about it. Amanda, have you seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles?
I don't know about in its entirety, but I feel like I've seen it.
Not that memorable for you then?
No.
Okay.
I haven't.
All right, everybody rewatch it and report back. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Man, sorry, I'm thinking about scenes from the movie now. Amanda, number 2.
Oh, Lord. I think this has been thrown around pretty recently, at least with me and Kevin, and that's the fact that I've never seen When Harry Met Sally.
Nor have I. Hyro is crying right now.
Is he?
Yes, this is like one of his favorite films of all time. I was not in the right mindset to watch romantic comedies when this and everything else came out in the 90s, because I could have cared less about romance at that time. So I missed almost all of these, and I know this is the one that gets probably the most acclaim, but I've not seen anything that Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan have been in, or I know that wasn't Harry Met Sally, but they were in a bunch of other rom-coms at the same time. So I haven't seen this one either. Matt, have you seen When Harry Met Sally?
I've not.
That's 3 of us. Dan?
I'll make it 3 for 3.
Is this something we need to cross off our list, Dan? Is it something we need to seek out?
I have no idea. I don't know. I've never, like, again, When Harry Met Sally. What was the other one with something in Seattle or
Sleepless in Seattle?
In
You Got Mail.
Yeah. Those I've not seen. Like pretty much any romantic comedy before I was, before I was dating, I didn't see. So there you go.
Me too. So I'm with you there. I mean, I know it's talked about a lot and volleyed about, so I think it fits the list. But Matt, you're number 2.
So I've put down 2 movies together because they're in my head. They're like the same idea of war is hell sort of movies. One got mentioned before. The other one's Kubrick, and that is Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket. I have not seen either of them.
That's too. I think it fits the list perfectly, but it's another one of those where you just have it's not every day that you want to watch those films.
But I mean, how many people have seen Saving Private Ryan? I feel like the same thing. Like you can't just go into watching Saving Private Ryan and expect to come out in a in a good light here.
I think Full Metal Jacket is probably one that, because the first half is, because of Arlie Ermey, is somewhat funny because he's insanely hilarious for all the wrong reasons, but the second half is much different. But yeah, I agree. And Apocalypse Now is very methodically paced, and there's also 2 versions of it. I think stick with the original version, but it's one that if you do have to kind of sit back and absorb and pay attention to, and it's because it is so thick and thematically, just like it's a lot to get into, so it will mess with your mind.
So if you want your mind messed with, Matt, go see both of them back to back.
Yeah, and then I'll top it off with Old Boy. Just fucking die.
Don't do that. Oh, well, I mean, don't do that if it's the remake of Old Boy.
The remake is just bad. The original Old Boy is so
it's not as good as people say.
It's so good. It was it's emotionally draining.
Oh man, that is a polarizing film too. It seems like every other person you talk to about Old Boy either likes it or doesn't like it. But man, and Old Boy, the triple feature of Old Boy, Apocalypse Now, and Full Metal Jacket. That would not be a fun.
You'll need some counseling afterwards, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I'm going to go in a completely different direction for my number 2. Let's change it to a different mood here. And I'm also going to do what Matt did and put 2 films together because I can't think of one without thinking of the other, I guess. And I know Amanda has seen both of these probably a number of times. But I have not. I am not ashamed to admit that I have never seen Dirty Dancing or Footloose. Amanda is giving me a look that does not translate via audio right now. So I'm sorry, Amanda. I have not seen Dirty Dancing or Footloose. It wasn't my cup of tea when it came out. So I also, you could throw Saturday Night Fever if that counts in there. I've not seen any of these films. Are you okay with that?
Do you see my hair right now? I look like Baby, and I feel like I got put in a corner.
Dude,
I've heard that quote, though.
Do you even carry watermelons, bro?
I don't know what's being said to me.
Oh, man.
I haven't seen it either, but I know enough to quote it.
You jerk. All right, so yeah, I'm not thinking that they're going to be great films, but I know they get talked about a lot, so I haven't seen them. Sorry, Amanda.
Sorry for you, okay?
I'll watch
sorry
those.
for your ass.
I'll watch those if you watch
Goonies.
All of Godfather and Goonies.
Godfather and Goonies. There's a double bill for you.
Just like if you're going alphabetically, they're both in the G section, so you got to watch them back to back. Dan, what do you got for number 2?
Oh, so you went with I'm going to go with make things sadder, I guess. I'm going to go with another horror film that I have not seen. Probably if when I went to Letterboxd, which was really helpful with doing this actually, because you can hide films that you have seen. And
I wish that on Letterboxd you could do that with other people's. Like, I wish I could go to, like, Amanda yours or Dan's yours and then have it do the same thing.
Yeah.
That you can do for yourself. So you could see what other films other people haven't seen or this, that, and the other. It would make for some interesting research. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this was probably, I think, one of the highest rated and most popular ones I have not seen, and that's The Exorcist. It's, probably noted as the greatest horror film ever made. I've just not seen that, and kind of along the same lines, have not seen Rosemary's Baby. What? I know.
Yeah.
I feel like I failed as a person, but yeah.
Like I said in the intro, though, you could have just said, I haven't seen the most famous horror film, and you could have thrown in like 6 different titles, and I would be right there with you. I've not seen these. I've not seen those or Carrie or a lot of other things. But Exorcist is definitely one of the ones that gets the most praise. I think you're right by picking that one as higher up on your list, because a lot of people love that film. Amanda, are you appalled?
A little bit, yeah. But not surprising, because do a lot of people really want to see a little girl go through that? It's really disturbing. I traumatized my little brother on accident by watching this. He was supposed to be asleep, and it got to the part where she was like, she comes down the flight of stairs there in her house in an unnatural way, we'll say that, and it flipped him the hell out when he walked into the room. And yeah, I feel bad about that one, but I'm also still scared every time I watch this movie, and it still holds up with how freaky it is, and I even know what's going to happen, and it still freaks me the hell out. So good luck.
Good luck, I guess, if you're going to watch that one, she's saying.
Rosemary's Baby, I think I saw it too young as well, but that
there seems to be a trend
that
there.
too. Yeah, I would recommend that. Not like I know there's a bunch of remakes of it, or like newer ones as well, but B-rated stuff. Go for the original, definitely.
All right. So that leaves space for only one. Our number one, all the way around the room here, starting with Amanda. What is your biggest regret?
No, it's not the biggest, because you told me that this didn't have to be in order, so this is just the last one I'm going to talk about, not the most important one. But that is The Breakfast Club. I don't think I've ever seen the entire movie.
It's not that you just haven't seen The Breakfast Club. Anytime that I even suggest it, point to it, or you even see the title or hear somebody talk about it, you act like you're disgusted.
Aren't they just in a room the whole time?
Didn't we?
because the setting is the 100% most important part of a movie.
I just don't want to watch a bunch of kids sitting at desks for an hour and a half.
You know how many films we've seen in the last couple of years that have a single setting location?
But a bunch of kids in detention, I don't know.
You just have bad thoughts about bad connotations when it comes to detentions or something?
Some of us weren't perfect little children, Kevin.
Hey, I had my share of detentions. This is definitely a list of shame material.
Shut the front door.
Okay, I will stop talking. But Goonies and Breakfast Club, you're killing me.
You know what?
You're killing me. All right. I will shut up. Matt, save me.
I'm going to save you with the biggest cheat of all time, which is I have seen probably less than half of Disney movies.
Wow.
I'm going to give you a list here. Hold on to your asses. I have not seen Cinderella, Robin Hood, Mulan, Snow White, Hunchback, Bambi, Up, Little Mermaid, Pinocchio, Dumbo, The Jungle Book, Tangled, Peter Pan. Not one of them.
What's wrong with you?
I'd drop my mic if it wasn't on a stand.
We did not plan that either. Do you have an aversion to Disney films?
No. It's just, I think growing up a boy in a family of mostly boys, I just didn't encounter the Disney movies. That's the only excuse I can think of, is that my older brother probably wasn't a fan, and so they never came down the pipeline to me. I don't have anything against them. There are some that I've watched that I didn't see as a kid. Sleeping Beauty I watched 2 years ago that I hadn't seen. I tried watching Snow White a couple of years ago, but I fell asleep. It was pretty late. I don't blame the movie so much as just being tired. But yeah, I don't know. It just hasn't happened.
Have you watched certain Disney films though, and just not liked them, where it turned you off maybe from some of them?
No, I can't think of a Disney film I haven't liked or haven't liked enough to not watch something else. It just...
And you've seen... I'm sorry, I just had to keep going with this. You've seen Aladdin and Lion King, but not Little Mermaid?
Yeah, I've seen... I think even bigger, I've seen Aladdin and Lion King and not Mulan, which I think is in the same vein as those, as being less of a princess and more of a boy-friendly movie. I don't know how I missed that one.
So how does Amy feel about this? Because I'm a little shocked that she's allowed this to go on this book.
She owns all of them on VHS, most of them on DVD, and it's been a point of contention in the past.
Yeah, I can feel that.
You gotta... I think you would... I mean, you would like a lot of them, but, man, I'd like to watch Robin Hood with you, just because that's one of my all-time favorites, and I think
It was creepily intimate, like... That just
intimate?
How you said that just seemed like it was.
I would like
intimate.
to watch Robin Hood, the Disney Robin Hood, with my friend Matt here.
Just how you said it made me feel creeped out for Matt. Like, geez, Matt,
I don't know.
Watch yourself. Don't fall asleep.
Previous Robin Hood movies I've watched with Kevin has been pretty good, and so I think I'm gonna be okay with it.
I'm trusting here.
All right, that shocks me. That is, you win, Matt. By the way,
I thought
nothing I can say is going to top that, but. Everybody has their certain films that they watch, some of which have already been mentioned in this record, as far as, every holiday they watch Gone with the Wind or whatever it might be, Home Alone, A Christmas Story, and the like. And we did that as a family, I guess, in some ways. But apparently my family's not like every other family in America, because I have never seen It's a Wonderful Life or Miracle on 34th Street.
Yeah.
I haven't either.
You haven't?
Really?
I've seen pieces, but probably not the whole
I thought
thing.
I was the only one.
No.
You just rained on my parade. But yeah, I've seen like probably every other Christmas-themed movie ever made, it seems like, but our family never watched those two, so I've never seen them. Dan, which one's better? Which one should I cross off my list first?
It's a Wonderful Life is a better movie than Miracle on 31st Street, which is interesting because that movie, like, It's a Wonderful Life, is parodied and kind of homage so much. I actually saw a stage production of it last year, which was pretty good. So I think that's certainly a better movie. Miracle on 31st Street is like a nice family film for sure, but. Yeah, that's surprising. Again, you talk about movies that are always on TV. It's like, what is that, a Christmas movie that's on TBS for like 4 days straight?
Right.
So, yeah.
I hate A Christmas Story, though. I don't know why, but something about that stupid kid and that Red Ryder BB gun or whatever. I was forced to watch that in school, and I hated it. I would much rather watch it.
What the hell made you watch that in school?
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
weird.
It was like, hey, let's have a Christmas party and not do anything the last day before break, and we'll throw on Christmas movies, and this is the one they threw on. So it was either that or usually Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I got forced to watch the Santa Claus, so that's, yeah.
So that is my number one confession. Dan, what is yours?
So my number one's pretty bad because, so Goodfellas is like one of my top 5 favorite films of all time. I've seen a lot of Scorsese, like Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, some of his early films like Boxcar Bertha, pretty much everything post 2000s. And this is a movie I actually kind of thought I saw previously, but I've come to realize I actually never have. And it's one that's actually been mentioned already, and it's Casino. I've actually never seen Casino, which I feel is ultra shameful considering how much I do love some Scorsese. There's other ones of him I haven't seen, like Temptation of Christ and a few others, but I feel like Casino, considering my love of Goodfellas, is no excuse. One I need to buckle down and watch again.
When I originally watched Goodfellas and Casino, because it was very close proximity as far as the time that I watched both of those for the first time probably within a year or two at the most. And as a younger person, seeing those, like, I almost couldn't even separate which one I liked better, and they both seemed like so similar to me that I kind of grouped them together. Now, as I've rewatched both of them multiple times, there's a much bigger gap between them, and Goodfellas is by far the better film. But I think Casino is still worth watching, just to watch those actors back when they still were acting and giving it their all and having parts that were seemingly made for them. If you liked Goodfellas, you're going to like Casino, but it does have some issues that Goodfellas doesn't. So I would be interested to kind of have you watch that and kind of get your take on, because I don't think you'll like it as well as you like Goodfellas either, and I'd be interested to hear your take on why, to see if it lines up with the same kind of problems I have with Casino, even though I still really like the movie. But yeah, that's surprising to me based on how much you like Goodfellas and how much you've liked most of the other Scorsese films that I've heard you talk about.
Yeah, I know. I gotta get on that for sure. It's inspired me to try to knock some of these off of my list of shame, and I think that's probably the first one I'm going to go for. So
just doing this whole idea of coming up with this list made me start knocking films off of it, because it was so big that I watched Where the Wild Things Are, Vertigo, Glengarry Glen Ross, and a couple other things just so I could say I've seen them. But real quick, we're going to go back through and give our 10 picks, or the 10 things we had, and the reason I want to kind of recap it for everybody. The reason I want to recap it as briefly as we can is we're going to put a poll up on the website for each of us and let the people vote on which thing they think is the most shameful, or the one that is the most we need to go watch it right now, so they can each vote on our list. So Amanda, why don't you go back through and give the voters and the listeners what they have to choose from. What were your list of shame films?
Oh man, no particular order here. Passion of the Christ, Casablanca, Goonies, The Godfather, any of them, The Breakfast Club, Rocky Horror Picture Show, When Harry Met Sally, Sid and Nancy, Rudy, and Enter the Dragon.
All right, Matt, what was your list of shame?
Fight Club, Tron, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Rocky, A Clockwork Orange, Citizen Kane, Taxi Driver, Apocalypse Now / Full Metal Jacket, Godfather 1 and 2, and any of the associated mob movies, or half of Disney's catalog.
For my list, I had The Shining / Clockwork Orange, Psycho, Caddyshack, the Before trilogy, pre-Brosnan James Bond films, Gone with the Wind, The Iron Giant, Dirty Dancing / Footloose, Wonderful Life / Miracle on 34th Street, and all of the Rocky movies. Dan, what was your list of shame?
Requiem for a Dream, Halloween franchise / Friday the 13th franchise, Wayne's World, Donnie Darko, The Searchers, Gone with the Wind, Unbreakable, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, The Exorcist / Rosemary's Baby, and Casino.
All right. I don't think we necessarily need to do honorable mentions, because I think there's so many that we would have to list, and it might eventually allow us to revisit this idea once we've knocked some of these off the list. But definitely a lot of things out there that we're going to have to catch up on and report back. We'll see how the listeners vote and what they think is the biggest thing that we should make a priority to go watch immediately. Dan, out of all those that are on your list, is there one that is kind of highest that you want to, or think that you're going to knock off soonest?
Soonest?
Is that a word?
Maybe? I don't know. I don't think so. I was actually looking to see which ones of these are available on streaming, and there's not a bunch of them, unfortunately. I think I'm going to try to go with either Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, because I think that one is streaming, or Casino, like I mentioned, just because I feel like I need to do it. I just have to figure it out and go for it.
For me, it would probably be the Before trilogy or the Alfred Hitchcock films that I mentioned that I haven't seen, and just because there's so many of them, and since I just started with Vertigo, I'd like to see some more of those. Amanda, which one are you most eager to knock off your list?
Sid and Nancy, I'd say, just because I have the most vested in my love for Gary Oldman. And
Matt, Disney catalog, is that top on your list?
I mean, if it's what would I want to see the most, probably, yeah, something from there, either Mulan or Tangled, I think, look the most interesting, or Up. Those all look really interesting. But the one that's most likely to get knocked off is Fight Club, because the guy who yells at me a lot he's transferring out of state in a month, and I'd like to see it before he leaves, just to give him peace of mind.
All right, so you have to let us know, like we said, vote on our polls. Let us know what your thoughts are on this episode if you want to see us do something like this again in the future. But like I said, there is a reason, a rhyme and a reason for why we're doing this, and you'll have to wait and stay tuned to episode 100 to see how it all ties together. But thanks as always for tuning in to the Cinema Geeks this week. You can contact us in a bunch of ways. You can call the voicemail line 502-526-5821 and leave a voicemail for the Cinema Geeks. We'll play it on the show if it's not ridiculously profane and vulgar. You can visit the actual website, geekcastradio.com, where you can find all of the episode posts, and you can comment there, and we will interact with you. We appreciate all the feedback that we get on every single episode, and especially those faithful users that comment seemingly every week. We really like that feedback. You can visit the Facebook page by searching Geekcast Radio Network, and of course, you can follow us all individually and interact with us on Twitter. The show is at Cinema Geekcast. Mine is at Optimus Solo. Amanda, yours is?
Hard Candy Mandy, Eyes, No Eyes.
Matt, yours is?
I'm at Fridley Set.
And Dan, yours is?
I'm at Movie Revolts.
And Dan, what do you have coming up on Talking in Circles in the next week or so?
Well, inspired by X-Men Apocalypse, we will be trying to create our own Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse by getting four different characters to fit the roles of famine, pestilence, death, and war. And we're choosing from all realms of comics and nonfiction, so it should be fun.
Nice. That should be a fun episode to listen to. And you can also listen to some of the ones that they just put out. They had the Desert Island episode that you just put out recently. That was fun as well. We will be back next week to talk about X-Men Apocalypse, and then following that, we'll be right in the right time frame to give you our June preview. And as always, we'll be getting back to the video game series Spotlight that we've been doing, and also our second film in the Miyazaki Spotlight. So a lot of stuff to look forward to in June from us here at the Cinema Geeks. But that is it for us for now. Be sure to check in next week for another chance to listen to the Cinema Geeks.